BitsBytes. In this video, we are learning about how to perform the CRUD operation using the APIs. As in the previous video, we learned about how to create the API using the native HTTP package, net HTTP package in the Go language. So I believe you guys able to create the API endpoint using the net HTTP package. So, as we discussed previously, we are performing the CRUD operation, CURD, right? CRUD operation using the API, right? In Go. So, C stand for the create, U stand for update, date, delete, and read. So, we are going into that format, like we are going to create the data, then read the data. So you will guys able to map it, like once it will be created, how it is look like. For that, we are not going to use any data type, any database. We are using the memories in the variables. So where users is our variable, which is of type is array of user, basically array of users. Okay, which is type of array of users. Oh, that will be good, right? But we don't know the user. What is the user? It is not giving any error, but it is not know what is the data type of user, right? So we need to provide that data type. So user struct, name ID, and this. So what if you see properly? Yeah, you can go with the where also if you want it. So if you see, the tags is also coming that JSON ID. So the tag is helps to generate whenever the Go structure is converted into the JSON, right? Then that column ID or that element of ID is denoted by the small ind. And name will be converted into the small n AME name instead of the capital N, and so on. So we are trying to go with the small cases whenever we are showing the responses, and we are trying to convert it, the Go structure into the JSON format. So because for APIs there is the standard format is JSON. Previously the few areas still the format can be XML as well. So we are going forward with the create operation. Same, we need to create the function for the create user, right? And this is the way. And then we are checking the method. We are not going to check the method. We are directly go with the user data. User colon equal to user data. Okay. Now we need to decode what we get from the user. JSON dot new decoder, which need to be decoded. That body we are getting, right? With which value we need to decode? We need to decode in the user value, which format basically. So it will be get the format, but it throw the error basically. So if we are getting the error, then we need to throw the error message to the user. Whatever the request you are sending, that is incorrect. Otherwise, we are appending the user. But before that, we have a ID. If we are treated as a unique ID, I will let you know why we are going with the unique ID format. So user.id will be length of the user plus. We are going into that. And if it is JSON decode and user will be the part of it. What we need to do is we need to tell it is created, right? W dot write header, which need to be http dot status created. Status created means 201 created. Okay, so don't forget about it. That number, if it is started in the series of 200, that is always denoted the success. If it is started with 400, it is showing the errors. If it is started with the 500, it is shows the server error. That is a client error basically. 400. That is a bad request. That is the status of this 400 integer value. If I hover it, it shows the 201 and so on. Okay, so it will be appended into the user. Now we are going forward with the func get user. We don't need to apply the content type. I will let you know why we are not going forward with that. But w dot write header http dot status okay. So it will be giving the status okay. Now we need to expose two of the function into one function. Okay, function handler user or user handler basically we are exposing with this. Okay, so what I did is in the top I created a one setup on into it, like if I expose this function into the one endpoint, automatically I expose the two values in the single endpoint, right? So http dot handle func slash user, if I did that, which automatically means slash user with method get for read and post for create. That what we did it. If it is post, we are creating. If it is get, we are getting. Right. So in the single method, we are exposing the two methods. If we need to change anything into the get, we just need to go to the get users and we have to update the logic over here. If we need to update the create user, we are going forward with the create user. Or if you want to generate a two methods, suppose I believe it should give the error, but I never did it. So let's do it. Get users for read it, right? Because the endpoints are same, so it quite confusing for us. Like see, because user matches the same request as user. We are providing the two same data, same endpoint with different functions, so that is not possible. That's what I am trying to show you right now. That is shows the conflict at the line number 19. Line number 19 is a user type, right? So we are not going to expose the same endpoint with two values. That's why we are going with the handler function, in which having the method, according to the method, we are changing that, right? Go run main. So now it is running successfully. We are going to use the one another software that will help to hit the endpoints. That is a postman. So let's rename that endpoint is get user, and this is my request, right? If we click it, hello world, thanks for using Go. That is correct? No, it is not. So what is the issue? We are not giving the S. Why we are giving the plural instead of the singular? Because in that endpoint we are getting all the get data, all the array. Because it is coming into the array format, that means it have a multiple records in it. So it should be users, right? Okay. Now we are going to add one more endpoint into it that will help to create user. Okay. And that endpoint method will be changed into the users, and we are going forward with the post. As we mentioned in the post, if you remembered it, r.body. R is representing the request. So in the request, we need to send the user body, user data type body, basically. So how it is look like? Name, email, and ID. We are not going to pass the ID. We are going to pass name and email. Okay. So name. Suppose we are going with Alex, and there is an email going with the Alex at the right example. Once we hit that, it is generated a one endpoint, like one ID that is one, because we don't have another. If I go to another, it will be created a second. But it is showing only the one record, right? And the HTTP status is 201. So that representing it is successfully created. But now we should have the two records as per the understanding. Because we created the two records of the Alex. But wait, if we are creating the two records of Alex with the same name, with the same email, right? We need to delete that. If I just try to delete everything, is it working? No. It shows method not allowed. That means we didn't implement yet. So we need to implement the delete operation. So it is used for create. Get user is used for read, basically. Now we are going forward with the delete. Not update yet, or we are going to update. Which one? Let's go with the delete. Okay. So again, what we need to do is, if we are going to delete, we should be more specific which user need to be deleted, right? So where the ID comes into the picture, we should send the ID, send the unique value, so I can identify which user need to be deleted. So I kept it that ID is a unique ID. So send me the ID from the client to me, so I can identify which data need to be deleted. Okay. So how I get that ID? Okay. Now ID comes into the two ways. One can be a path variable or one can be a query variable. I'm going forward like in delete or update. Mostly we are going with the path variable. So r.path value, and we are going to put it as ID as a common name. But if I hover it, right, its data type is string, not the integer. But our user ID is an integer. So we have to convert that ID into the from string to integer. For that, we are going to use the string conversion a to I, okay, and then ID. What happen over here is it will be generate a ID data, IDX, and error. Like if there is any value, any issues in it, so we have to show the invalid user ID to the user because it is sending a bad request. It is sending a non-integer value basically. If ID is less than 0 or length of the user, like I don't have the users and the user is sending like 10. So we don't found the user, we directly said user not. Otherwise, what we're going to do is, this is not the correct format, but what we are going to do is for iUserRange, it should be match the ID and whatever the index we are just breaking it. And 40204 is just a way to tell that he is successfully deleted, but it is not. Okay, so we have to send it over here like w dot write header http status. Okay, okay, w dot write array of byte in this message column equal to successfully delete. This is a message we need to show. Oh, it is correct, right? And we have to not break, we have to hit. This is how we are going to fulfill the data. Okay, let's over it, check it on semicolon. Just we can need to okay. Okay, we are forward to close the folder. So once we done it, we get it, and if length is less than 0 or something, user not found. Also, it is a default case, user not found, if it is goes through the loop, right? So either it is goes through the loop or it is a zeroth one, then we have to say user not found. Otherwise, it is always the status okay, successful, right? So we done it. Now we are going forward. We didn't implement yet with our user handler. So let's keep it into the user handler. Case delete and delete user this. And now, as I told you, we need to identify the user for the path variable. We need to pass into the values, right? So we need to pass that value. But I'm using the same function to delete it. User slash ID, basically ID is the key to get the data. Which user need to be deleted? No, that's correct. That fulfill your dreams. Let's go with that. As if you try to get the data, no data will be appear because we are storing into the variables and that variable will be flushed whenever you are interrupting your console and close the server. So we have to create again two Alex and then remove the Alex2, which ID is 2. We need to remove it. So again we are generating a one more endpoint in this. Instead of this, we are going method delete user, same endpoint, but we need to pass it as ID. So in Postman, we need to put it as a colon ID. And if you see when I put it colon ID, it is showing as a path variable in the down and it is asking the value that need to be replaced with ID. I will show you that also like how it is implied. So I'm going to remove the ID2, but before that I need to make sure we have two data. See, Alex which having a 2 ID, Alex which having ID 1. So let's clear the logs into the postman and change it into the delete and save it. So it will be deleted. Now I'm going to request to delete. See, I'm putting the column ID, but in the logs it is shows as a 2 because it replaced with the whatever the value you are putting into the value. And the message is correctly shows message successfully deleted. That is also correct, right? That's amazing, right? So now we need to pass. Okay. Now we need to pass update. Okay. Suppose now we have created a John. Okay. And mistakenly John Smith. I added it and okay. Oh, John Smith. So we need to pass only the John at the rate example.com is the email address. But mistakenly we created the John Smith. We have to update the record of the John now. So that is a situation now. So how can we do that? Okay, let's think about it. We don't need to update the everyone's email address. We need to update only the John's email address. That means again we are coming into the picture like we need a one unique identification that identifies that record belongs to the John, and then we have to update the email address of the John. That is comes under the picture is known as a update operation. We already done that. We done the delete. We've done the read, right? So only the update operation is left. That's the situation comes into our picture need to be updated. So let's scroll a little bit down and create a update operation. Function update user. Again, we need to identify the path variable which helps to know which user need to be updated. But also whatever the data need to be updated, that also need to be decoded. So we consider we need to get all the data. Okay, gotcha. And then we need to identify which user need to be updated. And then there is the values. Apart from that, okay, so that's how it is. So this is everything is done. Now we need to close the data. We already exposed that the ID. We can't expose the same endpoint for the update, right? So we need to do the use the same endpoint for update. So one more use case need to be added. Update. That's it. So it will be attach everything what need to be taken care. Hope you get that. It, so basically, user handler is a common function for both of the endpoint. Either I need to perform the get or the post operation, or the update or a delete. All four operations can be performed using a single function. And any logics or any security functions need to be implemented on the response writer side or the router side. I can easily implement using the user handler common function. Like I wrote it, everything is should be application JSON format. So whatever the error, message, anything is implemented, that is implemented using the user handler. If you read this logic and think a little bit more. Like we assign the one, we assign two, three, four, right? And then we deleted ID or user three, right? And then again generate the create a user, right? Should be should be five, right? But it will be four again. So we break the logic of the unique over here, right? So we have to work on that. How can we do that? Whatever the value is generated, we can save that next ID with the one. Okay, and we just need to do it next ID plus one, and we can initialize it with a z. That's it. Don't need to write anything. Yet, apart from that, we have to increment it, or you can go with this, right? So every time it will be incremented by one whenever you run the create operation, which basically you can put it as enter. Okay. So like we if we try to get that data, we are blank now. We have to go with the John Smith just now, and I want to change that ID of the job. So let it create a duplicate tab of it. Change the type to put instead of John Smith, I just want to John and same like user, right? Delete. We have to provide the path parameter that is one. But what is the difference between this and that is what is the difference between delete and update is we are providing the body which need to be changed, which has to update or modify the data. But in delete, we are not providing any body. It is none actually. We are not need to provide any data into it. Apart from that, in this, we also need to provide the ID, and that is one right now. So if you want to see that John Smith how it is look like, so John Smith is the error basically, and we are sending the data. Now it is not a John Smith anymore because we are passing the John Smith. That's why it is John Smith. But if we are passing the zone as example, it becomes a John. That's how, and it will be also reflecting into the get API. Here, if you are going with Alex, that is our another user, suppose, then it is like Alex, right? So yeah, it is successfully generated the tool. Now we are going to delete the tool and again generate it. So that scenario we are talking about, how it is working, it is automatically gives the three, but if you check the number of users, we have two. So the ID two, we got to know like there is a delete operation got performed and ID two is removed. Hope you able to understand all the operations and how to perform the CRUD operation in the endpoints. In upcoming video, we will learn about how to make a generic response. So each key will be always available in the response. It won't be changed if any error or any value will be changed. Suppose if I go with the head data type, it is coming like a method not allowed and there is no keys. So it should be giving some keys and some values. So user will get to know like we need so it will be help to the front end developer to work on that specific keys. If the key will be changed into something else, the data will then how we are treating that data. Let me know if anything you need to work on it in the comment section. That will be more helpful for me to align with you if there is any gap between our understanding. So thank you for watching my video. See you soon.